Well then, it has only been a few hours since the last video this morning, but at 2 PM this afternoon there is still loads more to get into with more breaking news by the bloody minute. It might be deadline day, well, for 6 days and it reopens again, and it actually doesn't matter at all, as I said earlier, because you can still sign players, you just can't register them. The Club World Cup transfer window is an absolute joke. But since I did the video this morning, there has been some big breaking news and developments. So let's get stuck into them, shall we? And first off, it's James Trafford, the goalkeeper. I'm wearing the keeper shirt. Will he be wearing it? Most likely. I've said for months I reckon he'll be our first signing this window, and it looks that way once more. He's currently on international duty with England. I hope he plays tonight, to be fair, against Senegal. We may as well give him a shot. The other night, it was terrible, wasn't it? One of the worst England performances in games ever. So give him a shot tonight. Give Ivan Toon a shot up front. Why not? Mix things up a bit, Tuchel. Make things interesting. Trafford will definitely be England's number one sooner or later. I mean, Pickford's still relatively young in goalkeeper terms, so he'll probably see it out to the World Cup next year unless Trafford has a blinder and Pickford has a stinker. Then we could see him come in. And I hope he does. And I really hope that's the case. But, you've seen how amazing Trafford has been for the youth levels at England. That's why he's got this big price tag of 30 million quid. However, Newcastle United are negotiating with Burnley over the fee. This is official now. It's on Sky Sports, so it's not just another rumour video that we've done for months gone by about Trafford, but it turns out it was right because we are very much interested in him. Eddie Howe wants him. Well, we knew that anyways from last summer, didn't we? We tried to sign him last summer. Everything was agreed, and then things changed. Trafford is still happy with the current demands though, so he's agreed personal terms already. That's not an issue. It's just navigating around this 30 million price tag. Probably things like installments and sorting it out that way for FFP and PSR reasons. But Burnley will obviously want as much money as possible up front so they can spend that and try and survive in the Premier League next year. But Newcastle are in talks with Burnley. Trafford wants to move. He's made no secret of that. He even said on a podcast that it was close last year and he fancied it. He stayed with Burnley, got them promoted, an amazing season, so many clean sheets, unreal, and now he wants to take the move to the Newcastle. So let's hope this one gets done. I think it will. I think it eventually will. And Sky Sports are saying here that we do want to keep Nick Pope though, but that'll leave the door open for Leeds because Leeds fancy Pope. But Newcastle want Trafford to compete with Nick Pope. They want extra competition for that number one spot. We know that the cold goalkeeping department could see a reshuffle this summer, apart from John Ruddy just continuing to wear dressing gowns and getting extra deals. He's never going to play though. He's just training ground. He's just a coach at this point. The same can be said with Gillespie, and he's a homegrown player, so it counts. But that may looking at Odysseas and Dubravka on that one. Dubravka nearly left in January. Will he want a new challenge, or is he happy to stay at the Toon now? Wait and see. Odysseas, God almighty, no one wants him. Can you get a loan for him? Can you accept a few million quid for him? We'll try and do something because he's never going to get an ounce of football. Yeah, he's never going to get a second. So we'll try and shift him on. But he sees Trafford and Pope battling for that number one spot. That's the way Eddie Howe wants things to work out. But if you're signing a keeper for 30 million quid, you're almost guaranteeing him a place, aren't you? Pre-season will happen and the competition will go through there. But I mean, when Trafford comes in, for a fact you'll be wanting that number one shit. Nick Pope will be battling out for it, and Pope's had a good, strong end of the season. But, I mean, Trafford's going to come in and want that jersey. He's still young, though. We all know that. That's the question mark. Is he ready? Is he good enough? I think he is. I'm a big fan of Trafford as well. I think he's class. I think he's quality. He's obviously going to get better and improve at Newcastle under the coaching staff there. But I think Trafford's ready. He had a bit of a dodgy start now, Vincent Kompany a couple of years ago. Then he improved massively. And then, obviously, he's had a great season in the Championship. Albeit, I know, completely different ballgame. The step up is huge. But I think Trafford's shown it on international duty as well. I think he's a top actor. He's a top goalkeeper with a lot to give and also still a lot to learn. But he'll be right up there, and as we mentioned, an England starter in the future. So Trafford at the Toon is progressing. Newcastle negotiating with Burnley over the fee. So we'll see how that one plays out. But as I've been saying, I'm very confident we will see Trafford in this shirt next season. Who we won't see in a Newcastle shirt next season is Dominic Calvert-Lewin, JackGrealish, and Noni Madueke. That's according to The Athletic. They have reported that today that Newcastle are not interested in those players and they have snubbed them. They have rejected big DCL. Calvert-Lewin, who was very much rumoured to come, he nearly came last summer. That looks like it was more of a FFP PSR thing when Minter was meant to be going the other way at Goodison Park, then he ended up at Brighton. We were trying to look around that, and I would have much preferred that, to be honest, getting Calvert-Lewin in instead of Minter going there, and then we having to get bloody Odysseas from Forest and waiting things out that way, losing Anderson. It would have been better if we could have done that swap. Would have been a more clever one than Anderson to Forest and bloody Adusias to Newcastle. He may as well stay in Forest. We haven't seen him yet. The bloke's lost in the Forest. Bless him. But Calvert-Lewin, it's a bit of a strange one with Calvert-Lewin because there was Everton groups and Everton pages coming out yesterday saying, he's going to be leaving, he's gone, his contract runs out, he's not signing a new one. And you got his wife on Instagram coming out saying not true. His wife saying that's not true. He might be staying. And Everton have said he might be staying, to be fair. Everton are saying that he's actually rejected a new deal. So Everton are trying to get Dominic Calvert-Lewin to stay. They've offered him a new contract. They've offered him a new deal, probably on less wages or whatever. Maybe an incentive thing. The Toon have done with Callum Wilson, but he doesn't want it. Calvert-Lewin apparently wants a new start, a fresh challenge. Makes sense. He's not getting any younger. He's not getting much game time either behind Beto at Everton. So he wants a new club. So he's refusing the new deal. But Everton are still trying to negotiate with him. They haven't said, right, he's gone, he's leaving. They're trying to make him stay, but Calvert-Lewin is still likely to move. And he'll still have suitors, but this made me laugh, right? Calvert-Lewin said, I'm only moving to a club who plays Champions League. That's according to Chronicle. So Calvert-Lewin thinks he's coming to Newcastle then, because I can't see any other Champions League club trying to sign him, unless it's one abroad, in the bloody Romanian league or something. Oh, Calvert? What's going on, Dom? Who do you think you are? I mean, it's not 2016 anymore. Bless him, honestly. I mean, I think he's an alright player, and a lot of Newcastle fans are kicking off at the thought of signing him. On a free, I would have maybe took him as a third choice striker or something, but I'm not asked. So if he thinks he's going to get a Champions League club, he's a bit mad, to be honest with you. But he's confident in himself, fair play to him. If he gets a Champions League club, well done. But it would be a surprise. And if it is a Champions League club, like I say, who's it going to be? But he Partizan Belgrade or something? Are they still gone? Don't know. But Calvert-Lewin not coming to Newcastle. We rejected that move. Eddie Howe's moved on from him. He has been an admirer of the former Sheffield United striker, but not now. He's not coming to Newcastle. So that's a bit of a relief in a way, because I could have seen that happening. I could have seen the backlash from fans. Like I said, as a plan B or a plan C, I wouldn't have been that fussed. But yeah, there's definitely better players out there that surely Champions League, League Cup winners Newcastle can attract. Another player that is being constantly linked to Newcastle, driven by the media, is JackGrealish. But according to Athletic again, we are not interested in signing him because we don't need him. We've been saying it, left wing, unless Gordon was sold, we don't need a third winger on that side to argue about. Should it be Gordon this week? Should it be Barnes? Should we swap him over at the right? Should we play him there? Just sign the bloody right winger, and then we've got two right wingers, two left wingers sorted. Grealish wouldn't have fitted the bill, wouldn't have fitted the style of play. We couldn't afford the bill, to be honest with you. We're getting kicked out of the restaurant. 300 grand a week. Like I say, if it was a loan deal and we're paying half his wages, maybe. But yeah, that one never really made much sense or likely to happen. He's been linked with Bayer Leverkusen the day on Sky Sports, as I mentioned in the earlier video. I think that would be a smart move for him. But Grealish to the Toon isn't smart. Be on the big market every night, and it looks like we're not going in for him. Another winger this time, and one that would actually fit the profile, especially an Eddie Howe type signing, and one that was linked last couple of windows, is Chelsea's Noni Madueke. However, in the same article, they are reporting that we are not interested in signing him. Again, it's probably huge demands from Chelsea. They're going to want a lot of money for the England international. I actually thought Madueke was one of the only good players on the pitch against Andorra the other day. He looked bright, he looked dangerous. That's just something about Madueke that I don't like. I think he thinks he's bigger than he is, better than he is already. He's a bit arrogant, cocky. And you kind of need that. If you're a top footballer, most footballers, you're going to have an ego. But I just think with Madueke, sometimes all the dancing in the change rooms and the gang signs and all that, I'd say, grow up, mate. Do you know what I mean? You're playing for Chelsea. Do you know what I mean? Not 50 Cent. Sort it out. So I think with Madueke, I was never thinking that's the right character, that's who we want. Listen, Eddie Howe could have changed that. There was talking when Gordon was here, it's an attitude and all that. But with Madueke, I just thought there's better. I wouldn't mind him. If I'm wrong and the Athletic are wrong and we're trying to sign him, then it would be okay. I just think there's way better targets out there. I'd rather have Semenyo, I'd rather have Bakayoko, I'd rather have Elanga. Madueke would be right down my list, to be honest with you, and he would still cost a lot of money, and his wages still wouldn't be cheap either. So I think Chelsea, though, can kick on with him. Chelsea are going for that younger player profile now. So I think it's just right for him to stay there, really. But then again, Chelsea are signing 20 players a day, so who knows where he could end up. They might have to sell him because they've just got too many players for the bloody squad. But Madueke isn't one for Newcastle according to Athletic this summer. Another player we have snubbed. So at least we're cancelling people out now. I like this. We're going to start moving on and focus on players that we are actually interested in rather than every link to everybody. And now we can start to squash them. So we've squashed Grealish, Madueke and Calvert-Lewin all together already. Right then, we're going to put the specs on for this one so we can read the article from the Mail that are saying that Newcastle United are targeting rival Premier League chief for the vacant sporting director role as the search for Paul Mitchell's successor continues. We know that Mitchell's obviously out the door now. Well, end of this month he is. And now it's eyes on Forest chief Ross Wilson. He's among the names in the frame. So this is just, again, he's not confirmed. It's not like this is who we're getting. But he is one of the favourites. And it's the Nolans, not Kevin, that's in talks with getting this deal done. We're obviously targeting him there from Forest, Ross Wilson. We're also having a look at Arsenal assistant sporting director Jason Ado. And they're the top candidates at the minute, but there is still several people on the list to replace Mitchell. The 41-year-old Wilson does have admirers inside the club and they are supporting the decision to go ahead and appoint him. Wilson was also at Rangers and Southampton before going to Forest in 2023. He is well thought of within the game and is seen as a professional operator. Crucially, Newcastle United want a sporting director with Premier League experience. They are seeing this as crucial in terms of who they appoint next. So you can forget about your fancy names from abroad that's been linked. That's because Newcastle are keen to learn by past mistakes. They feel that the appointment of Mitchell was rushed after Dougie Freeman turned us down last time. A little bit on Wilson there. What about Ato, who's 40 years old, but has not thought that he has the experience for the role? I mean, Ato, he's assistant sporting director at Arsenal, and let's be honest, Arsenal haven't spent money very well, have they? They've spunked a lot of money lately, some big transfer fees, some free agents and stuff that hasn't worked out. You know, you're stealing on loans and that, so Havertz for bloody 70 million, 60 or whatever it was. Crazy, crazy stuff. I'm not a big fan of that. I'd rather have Wilson, to be honest with you. But it'll probably be someone else that we've never even heard of before, because that's who they've said. There's still several names being linked. Just on transfer deadline day, even though, like we've said, it's absolute nonsense, it does close at 7, so clubs are actually rushing to get things done. And now Chelsea are in talks with Frankfurt for this old familiar name. I'm just bringing this up because remember how often this lad was linked to the Toon and he actually turned us down. Official bids were made, approaches were made, but he was scared of a relegation battle, so he turned the mags down, and that is Hugo Ekitike. So fair play to the scouts and everything at the time who wanted him, who looked at him. His stats and everything weren't that great, so when people look at Trafford or they look at someone else abroad and they think, oh, well, who is he, what's he going to bring? Wanted Ekitike years ago, we nearly got him, but like I say, he bottled it. And it would have worked out well, because he's been flying ever since then. Well, it's a PSG thing, not the best, but then PSG for Messi didn't work out well, so a Neymar can't really judge that. But he's went to Germany, and he's setting the league alight, and everybody wants him now. Liverpool have asked about him, Chelsea are in talks with Frankfurt to sign him according to Sky Sports. However, the price tag is 100 million euros. So we were in talks to get this plug for 20, 30 million a few years ago. And now they're asking for 100 million euros. Wow, man. Look at how nuts football is now when people are saying, oh, 30 million for Trafford, oh, 50 million for Gay, and boom. However, these players are going for crazy money now. So about 85, 86 million pounds for Ekitike. He's had a couple of good seasons in Germany. Deary me. And like I said, yeah, another German thing is, obviously, Joe Bellingham's been announced by Dortmund. That was 33 million euros. Friggin' hell, man. For a championship player, absolutely wild stuff there. So, yeah, that's the latest on this mini transfer deadline day. But like I've said earlier, it doesn't really matter because it opens again in 6 days. And even before that official opening of 6 days' time, you can still sign players. You just can't register them. So it makes no difference. Weird. Anyways, thanks for watching, everyone. Second video of the day done already. So make sure you just give a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And pop your thoughts below on Calvert-Lewin. Would you take one a free? Are you happy Newcastle pulled out of that deal? What about Grealish? What about Madueke? And all the rest of it? Let us know in the comments below, and I'll see you on the next one.